Hey everyone, if you're a GCSE religious studies student currently staring down an absolute mountain of revision notes, take a deep breath because you are in exactly the right place. I'm so excited to guide you through today's explainer because we are going to build your ultimate chronological guide to the Jewish wedding ceremony. We're going to take all those tricky terms, traditions, and symbolic actions and put them into a perfectly logical sequence. The goal? So you can walk right into your exam with total confidence. Let's do this. So, right off the bat, here is the golden question. What exactly happens at a Jewish wedding, and why does it matter? Look, this isn't just about memorizing some random list of events. It's about understanding the what, the order, and, most importantly for your exams, the why. By the end of this explainer, you're going to have this perfect mental timeline locked in, along with the profound spiritual meaning behind every single step. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We'll start with the pre-ceremony traditions, move into entering the chuppah, break down the 2 stages of marriage, look at the blessings and the glass, and finally, wrap up with the post-ceremony celebrations. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, pre-ceremony traditions, specifically the preparatory rituals. We're starting our journey before the main ceremony even kicks off. Now, this timeline right here anchors our first few events, and you can really feel how the day builds anticipation. I mean, before the bride and groom ever walk down the aisle to stand in front of their guests, there are these deeply intimate traditional moments happening right behind the scenes. We go from signing a legal document to a private veiling, leading right up to the grand procession itself. First up is the ketubah. So what is it? Simply put, it's a formal Jewish marriage contract. But the why is what's really fascinating. It's all about protection and duty. Before anything else happens, the groom actually has to sign this contract alongside 2 witnesses. So it's not just some romantic gesture. It legally outlines his specific obligations to his bride. It's such a crucial document that they keep it super safe, and it's actually often read aloud to the guests later on during the ceremony. Moving down our timeline to the moments just before the main event, we hit the Batadin. This is the veiling ceremony. Now picture this. The groom personally places the veil over the bride's face. Why does he do it himself? Well, it actually traces all the way back to the biblical story of Jacob. If you remember, Jacob was tricked into marrying the wrong sister, Leah, instead of his beloved Rachel, simply because she was wearing a veil. So by doing this himself, the groom ensures, yep, I am definitely marrying the correct bride. But beyond that amazing historical connection, it beautifully symbolizes modesty, showing that his love for her is based on inner beauty, not just outward appearances. Next up, we transition from those private preparations right into Section 2, entering the chuppah, the main event. This is where the wider community gets involved. The crucial thing to remember here is the structure of the procession. The bridal party doesn't just, walk in randomly. It is a deeply familiar act. First, the groom enters, escorted by his parents, then the bridesmaids, and finally, the bride is escorted by her parents. And all of this is happening while the venue is completely filled with the beautiful, uplifting singing of a choir or a cantor, which is known as a chazan. It literally brings the whole family together, merging 2 separate lives into one shared path. Okay, every single GCSE student needs to know this exact term, the chuppah. The couple walks down the aisle to stand beneath this wedding canopy, held up by 4 poles. Now, notice how it's completely open on all 4 sides? This visually represents the couple's brand new home together. It symbolizes the intimate, safe space of their marriage, for sure. But because those sides are open, it also represents a profound openness to their family, their community, and the core Jewish value of hospitality. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates a much deeper spiritual connection. Look at what the canopy is actually made of. The chuppah is usually formed using the groom's talit. That's the traditional Jewish prayer shawl. Using the talit shows that their union isn't just a legal contract. It is fundamentally governed and protected by Jewish commandments, known as the mitzvot. They are literally building their new home under the shelter of their faith. How cool is that? Right. So now that the couple is standing under the canopy, we enter Section 3, the 2 stages of marriage, kedushin and nisuin. The core ceremony is actually split into 2 distinct historical stages that you definitely need to be able to identify. Let's compare these 2 stages side by side. First, we have kiddushin, which translates to betrothal. This is the big moment when the groom gives the bride a ring or sometimes another object of value. By doing this, he sanctifies the marriage. They are officially dedicated to one another. Then, the second stage is nisuin, which translates to the actual marriage itself. This is the stage that officially completes the union. Historically, believe it or not, these two events were separated by an entire year. But today, they're combined seamlessly right there under the chuppah. So let's see how this builds to the climax of the ceremony. To truly finalize that second stage, the nisuin, the couple must eventually enter a state called yichud. This literally means seclusion. They retreat to a private space, completely alone, away from all the crowds and the guests. This incredibly intimate moment signifies their new life together as a married couple, sharing a private space for the very first time. But before they head off to that private room, there's some really vital auditory moments that wrap up their time under the canopy. Which brings us to Section 4, Blessings and the Glass, the concluding rituals. Let's look at the exact chronological steps that conclude the public ceremony. Step 1 is the recitation of the Sheva Brachot, spoken over a cup of wine. Step 2 is that famous, super dramatic moment where the groom actually breaks a glass under his foot. And finally, Step 3, the couple immediately leaves the canopy and enters Yichud for that private time we just talked about. Let's look a little closer at Step 1. The number 7 is absolutely vital here. Sheva Brachot literally translates to 7 blessings. These 7 blessings are recited over wine to celebrate the couple's brand new union. They invoke joy, prosperity, and spiritual fulfillment. And why wine? Well, in Judaism, wine is basically the classic symbol of joy and celebration. Then comes the breaking of the glass. Now, you might be wondering, why intentionally break something at such a happy occasion? It's a really powerful dual symbol. First, shattering the glass serves to remember the tragic destruction of the ancient temple in Jerusalem. It shows that even in moments of ultimate joy, Jewish history is remembered. Secondly, it reminds the couple of the absolute fragility of life. Relationships, just like glass, are fragile. They have to be treated with care, and this really emphasizes their need for lifelong commitment. All right, after the intense emotion of the chuppah and the dramatic breaking of the glass, our timeline moves into pure joy. Welcome to Section 5, Post-Ceremony Celebrations, the festive celebrations. Now, the timeline definitely does not end on the wedding day itself. Once the couple emerges from Yichud, they are greeted by a massive, festive meal and incredibly energetic dancing. But what's really fascinating is that tradition dictates the celebrations continue for 7 full days. During this entire week, family and friends continue to gather, sharing festive meals, offering joy to the newlyweds, and actually repeating those 7 blessings, the Sheva Brachot, every single day to keep that spiritual joy alive. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this thought for your exam revision. Think about how knowing the what and why of this timeline connects ancient history to living families right now. Every time a groom veils his bride in the Bedekin, he connects to Jacob and Rachel. Every chuppah points back to ancient ideals of the home and the mitzvot. These aren't just old rules. They're active, living traditions shaping modern family life today. So keep this timeline perfectly clear in your mind for your exams, but also ask yourself, in a rapidly changing modern world, how do ancient rituals like these continue to anchor a family's identity today? Good luck and happy revising.